In this presentation, I'm going to introduce you to the concept of validity. Validity is the best available approximation to the truth or the falsity of a given inference, proposition, or conclusion. It is an encompassing standard by which research can be judged. Now, to understand, so let's go back to the causal context. The causal context is where we conduct our research studies. Generally, research involves testing a relationship between a cause and an effect. This relationship that we test is what is of interest when we do any research study. So let's go with an example. Let's say we were interested in studying the relationship between two constructs. Let's call one brand loyalty, and we define brand loyalty as how loyal you are to a particular brand or a product. And let's call the effect construct, in this particular case that we're interested in, as price sensitivity. In other words, how sensitive you are to an increase or a decrease in the price of a product. And let's say that we know this and we're trying to test this relationship between brand loyalty and price sensitivity. And we propose that as brand loyalty goes up, that is, the more loyal you are, the less sensitive you are to the price. In other words, the more you're willing to pay for the product. Now, generally what we do in any research study is we convert the cause into its operational definitions. So basically, we'll have to figure out a way to operationalize brand loyalty, the cause construct, and price sensitivity, the effect construct. And when we do this, we do what I called operationalization. It is after this operationalization and after we decide how we operationalize brand loyalty and price sensitivity that we can actually conduct an empirical examination. So let's say that we actually did that. So we operationalize brand loyalty as the response to a survey question. Let's say it's the response to a survey question about a product which we are all familiar with, Starbucks. And since we have a Starbucks on campus, we decide to wait outside Starbucks and ask a series of questions of people who are going in and out to get a cup of coffee. We ask them one question on the survey: how loyal are you to Starbucks? And the question has a 1 to 5 response scale, 1 being not at all loyal to 5 being extremely loyal. And so that is your cause construct operationalization of brand loyalty. Likewise, we have an effect construct, and we operationalize the effect construct by asking people whether or not they would purchase Starbucks coffee at various prices. So we ask them, would you purchase coffee if it was worth $5? Then we ask them if they would purchase coffee if they would purchase it for $6, $7, and $8. And so we have now operationalized both the cause construct and the effect construct. And this is the world of reality. This is the world where we do our study. Let's presume that we stood outside Starbucks on campus and asked a series of people who walked in to Starbucks to get a cup of coffee these two questions. We studied it, we ask the questions, we conduct the survey, and we look at the results. Now, the question of validity is a question of whether or not the results that you find from this study are indeed valid. So let's say we do see a positive relationship. We see that as people are more brand loyal, the higher and higher and higher the price goes, the less and less it affects them. So if brand loyalty is around 5 and 4, somewhat agree to strongly agree, more and more people are willing to pay $5, $6, $10, even $20 for a cup of coffee. Whereas when brand loyalty is low, 1 or 2, not at all agree to somewhat disagree, people are willing to pay less. So if you increase the price, they're saying, oh, I'm not going to go and get coffee at Starbucks. So the first type of validity when we see these results that we ask about is what is called as conclusion validity. Conclusion validity asks the question, is the outcome, is the conclusion valid? In other words, is there really an inference that we can make about this relationship? And usually the question is a statistical question. The answer to conclusion validity, or the issue of conclusion validity, rests in the statistical adequacy of the sample that you've used and the size of the sample that we have utilized. So let's say that we're standing outside the Starbucks at UB, and instead of asking 100 or 200 students who walk in and out, We only ask 4 of them the survey question. The results that we get are going to be of value, but the question of validity would be how valid are the conclusions coming from just 4 data points. Those are questions of conclusion validity. So conclusion validity deals with the adequacy of the sample. Can we conclude, based on the limited number of people, that this particular relationship truly exists? That's a question of conclusion validity. Form of validity, and a pretty important form of validity, is what is called as internal validity. We're going to deal extensively with this concept of internal validity when we talk about experimental design. Internal validity is at the heart of the causality of the relationship between the independent and the dependent measure. In this particular case, we want to be able to ask the question of whether the relationship we saw between brand loyalty in the survey and price sensitivity was truly causal, or were there other explanations for why people said they were willing to pay more and more and more for a cup of coffee. In other words, is it possible that because we were on a college campus, perhaps, that people were responding more positively? Is it possible that people were giving us the socially desirable response? After all, we were catching them and asking them these questions face to face. In other words, the question of internal validity is one of alternative explanations. Are there alternative reasons why you're seeing a relationship between brand loyalty and price sensitivity? The next validity is what is called as construct validity. Recall that what we did is we operationalized the cause construct and the effect construct, and we contextualized it within a Starbucks coffee drinking context. The question of construct validity is one of reconnecting our findings to the larger construct that we're interested in. And in this particular case, we are interested in brand loyalty, the construct, and we're interested in price sensitivity, the construct. We just chose Starbucks because it was located on campus and a convenient topic to study. So, based on the results of the study, can we now say that brand loyalty in general influences price sensitivity in general? That's a question of construct validity. There's the question of external validity. Keep in mind again that since we focused on one construct and in one location where we did this study, will this particular study give us the same results if we enhanced or changed the context of the study, and if we change the location of the study? In other words, is the findings, or are the findings of the study valid in other places, with other people, and maybe in other stores? That's a question of external validity, or a question of generalization. So, in a nutshell, validity is an important series of standards by which a researcher is judged. The validity questions are cumulative. The first form of validity is conclusion validity, that deals with the causal nature of the inferences. The second is internal validity, deals with the causal relationship within the study. The third is construct validity, deals with the generalizability of the constructs. And the fourth is external validity, deals with the generalizability of the findings. Thus, we have 4 types of validity: conclusion, internal, construct, and external, which cumulatively define the quality of a study.